Good afternoon. If everyone can take a seat for me, please. Distinguished guests, fellow educators, community members, and of course, P-CCS students. On behalf of the Board of Education and our entire school community, I am Superintendent Monica Merritt. Welcome to Plymouth Canton Community Schools. I have the honor of introducing our guests this afternoon. Governor Whitmer is a lifelong Michigander. She is a lawyer, an educator, former prosecutor, state representative, and senator. She was the first woman to lead a Senate caucus. And like many of us, the most important title she boasts is mom. Inspired by her family, she has devoted her life to building a stronger Michigan for everyone. And she is so proud to be serving her home state as governor. Joining our governor today is MDOT Director Paul Ajiba. Director Ajiba has 28 years of experience with the Michigan Department of Transportation and was appointed as director this past January. It is my privilege and honor to welcome our guests. Please join me in welcoming Governor Gretchen Whitmer and MDOT Director Paul Ajiba. Here to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance are members of the PCEP Student Congresses. Representing Canton High School are Kaylee Seffert, Bobby Scott, and Maddie Mustaine. Representing Plymouth High School are Isabel Topali, Jue Modi, and Sarah Glavoski. And representing Salem High School are Sean Patel, Sonia Rayo, and Kelly Nugent. Please welcome our state senator from District 7, Senator Dana Pohanke.
Hello, everyone. Is this working? Good. I'm Dana Pohanke, and I am your state senator. I am proud to represent you and people like you across all the communities in our district, from Plymouth and Canton to Livonia, Northville, and Wayne. Today, I am particularly honored to welcome Governor Whitmer to the 7th District. We are lucky to have Governor Whitmer here today to speak about her proposed budget, its progress in the legislature, and the road ahead. Our state is facing serious issues, including roads, water, and our education system. One thing is clear: we cannot afford to do nothing. People of this district have asked us to come to the table and tackle our state's toughest issues. We have heard you, and we are here to do that job. I look forward to continuing my work with all of you, with my Senate colleagues and Governor Whitmer, to represent the needs of every person in the 7th Senate District. Again, thank you to everyone for being here today. I hope you'll continue to stay connected with my office as we move through this budget process. Thank you.
Please welcome from the 21st House District, Representative Christy Pagan.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Christy Pagan, serving here in Canton, Van Buren Township in the city of Belleville. I'm also a very proud graduate of Plymouth Canton Schools. However, I'm a Salem High School graduate. But welcome to Canton High School. I'm proud to be serving in my 3rd term in the Michigan legislature and in my 3rd term on House Appropriations. This term, I have the distinct honor of serving as your ranking Democrat on school aid appropriations, where I'm really trying to champion what I ran on, fully funding our public schools. Study after study shows that Michigan ranks dead last in per pupil funding. For too long, we have failed our children, devastated our classrooms, and starved our future of success. So I'm very pleased to welcome the governor to my district this afternoon because I know she puts our students first. Her school aid budget truly represents a path forward by putting our schools and children ahead. I'm ready to work with the governor and my legislative colleagues to make this happen. And I'm confident that through the negotiation process and as we continue to debate the budget, we will have a budget we can all be proud of. So I'm ready to get to work and to prepare our students for success, have Michigan once again lead the nation by becoming a top 10 education state. So again, thank you, Governor Whitmer, for joining us here this afternoon, and I look forward to your presentation.
Please welcome from the 20th House District, Representative Matt Kolazar.
Hello, everyone. I am State Representative Matt Kolazar, representing the 20th District, which is Plymouth, Northville, and the eastern portion of Canton. So you could literally throw a rock across Joy Road and you would be in my district. So great to see everyone here today, and I can tell you that the last time I was here at Canton High School, I got an amazing tour where I was over just down the way here at the graphic arts classroom, and they made this really cool t-shirt that said Canton on the front and said Representative Kolazar on the back. And my wife told me I had to stop wearing it to Kroger because we kept getting questions. But one thing I can tell you is that I see the things we do here in this school district, and I think of the amazing things we could do if we were properly funded, and that's what the governor's looking to do. So I'm excited to get to work with her, with my colleagues, both in my caucus and on the other side of the aisle, so we can get this done. Thank you so much, and thank you, Governor, for being here.
If I can turn now your attention to the video screen, let's learn more about Governor Whitmer's budget plan with a short video titled The Road to Opportunity.
As we look to the future, we are presented with a fork in the road, providing a clear decision. Do we invest, build, and thrive, or do we continue to divest, stagnate, and decline? We have got to start rebuilding our infrastructure and making necessary investments in the things that connect us all, like roads, schools, skills, and water. This is the foundation for work and play, family and community, progress and competition. These aren't partisan issues. They're important to every one of us. We all want great education and training, clean drinking water, and safe roads. If we all have courage and work together to solve problems, Michigan is bound for great things. Instead of seeing neighbors disconnected and communities suffering, we'll see them thrive, finding common ground and shared experiences while strengthening local bonds. Instead of underfunded schools with overcrowded classrooms and out-of-date facilities, educators will have the resources they need for more one-on-one time with students so our kids get the skills they need. Instead of unsafe drinking water, every parent should feel confident enough to give their child a glass at the dinner table. And instead of layoffs, we'll get serious about closing the skills gap and helping ensure everyone has a path to a good-paying job. We are on this journey together, and competing in the 21st century will take sound investment in the things that matter most. Great roads, great schools, great water, new paths, new jobs, new opportunities, new horizons. It's not easy, and it's not going to happen overnight, but now is our time to get it right. In the great state of Michigan, we build the future together. right, thank you. I'm so glad they sped that up. It sounded like I'd been enjoying some of Michigan's great craft beer. So I appreciate everyone making time to be here. We've got, this is the greatest state, and I feel incredibly fortunate to be the 49th governor of the great state of Michigan. I love this state, and I ran for office because I wanted to make sure that we make this a place where our kids stay and our families can thrive and other people come to for opportunity. It's our great Michigan legacy, and it can be our future, but we've got some fundamentals we've got to get serious about fixing, and we've got to do it quickly. And so that's why I wanted to come here to Plymouth Canton, not just because you're renowned for your robotics team and having a phenomenal district, but because this is a conversation that every one of us has to be a part of. The education of our kids, the cleaning up of drinking water, the closing of the skills gap, and yes, fixing the damn roads is something that impacts every single one of us. And that's why I wanted to present my budget to you, so you could see why I've made the choices that I did and be a critical part of this conversation. So we're just going to jump right in. Of course, I call my budget presentation the road to opportunity because I can't stop talking about those damn roads, right? So the road to opportunity is acknowledging that we've had this wonderful legacy in this state. But for 40 years, the last 40 years, we've stopped investing in the things that truly make this a place where people can get ahead. We took things for granted and we stopped investing. And this isn't a criticism of a person or a party, for that matter. This is 40 years in Michigan, so there's a lot of people who've been involved in the decision to stop making the regular investments we should have been making all along. Now, when we talk about the school budget, I think, or when we talk about the whole budget, the state of Michigan budget, it's important that we start with some facts, and that's why I wanted you to see what the budget looks like on a spreadsheet. Now, budgets are a lot more than just numbers on a balance sheet. It is a statement of who you are and where you're headed. The state of Michigan budget is a $60 billion budget, and that sounds like a lot of money because it is a lot of money. But the truth about our state budget is only the general fund is the portion that truly represents what state government does every single day. Everything else on this budget has strings attached to it, and we don't have discretion over it. So when we think of our state police, or we think about our education system, or we think about the corrections workers, or the people who keep our foster kids safe, you know, everyone who works for state government, the 48,000 state employees who keep us safe in our communities, comes out of that general fund. Our military and veterans' homes comes out of that general fund. So the vast majority of what we do that you know of state government, that you think of, is out of that general fund. But the thing about our general fund is it hasn't grown in 20 years. So the size of it in 2000 was $10.7 billion, and today it's $10.7 billion. So when you remember that over that same 20 years, the cost of everything else has increased, our ability to pay for it has not. And unfortunately, the same thing is true of our transportation dollars not keeping up with our needs. And had the general fund just simply kept up with inflation, we'd have $5.6 billion more to work with. That's the difference between the roads that we have and the educational outcomes because our kids are crammed into big classrooms. That's the difference in drinking water in Michigan and the skills gap, the lack of affordability for options beyond high school. So as a result of a stagnant general fund and a transportation mechanism that didn't keep up with need, we've gotten to a place where our leaders started moving money around. And they started playing a shell game. Because the infrastructure crisis is so bad, they started taking money from the general fund to fill potholes. Not to rebuild roads, but to fill potholes. And as a result, the general fund had to be balanced by taking money out of the school aid fund. And so as you can see, there's been the shell game that's been happening in Lansing. And as a result of it, we're not doing any of these three things particularly well. We're not rebuilding roads. We're just simply filling potholes, which is an expensive, short-term, dangerous solution. We're not bringing down the cost of higher education or cleaning up drinking water because our general fund's the same. And our kids have paid the worst price for it because the money has come out of the school aid fund to balance everything. Now this is I wanted you to see kind of what the situation in our roads looks like in a graph. The national standard is a state's roads should be 90% of your roads in good to fair condition at all times. That's the standard. So you got 10% that you should be working on. But right now in Michigan, we're at 78% of our roads in good to fair condition. And I guarantee there's people in this audience thinking, how are we even that high, right? 78% of our roads in good to fair condition. It's kind of hard to believe when you're driving the roads all day long. But we're falling precipitously, all right? The thing about road funding and infrastructure is if you're not rebuilding, you're deteriorating. And we're doing so at such a pace now that if we don't do something incredibly bold right now, we will fall from 78% of our roads in good to fair condition to 65 in just 2 years. We'll drop 13 percentage points, another 5 a year after that. This price tag goes up from $2.5 billion today to $3.5 billion in just 4 years. That's how quickly things are getting expensive and dangerous if we don't do something bold right now. And you can see that this is a result, the quality is a result of the funding. So we rank 46th out of 50 states when it comes to the amount of money we spend on our highways per capita. And Paul Ajaba is going to speak after I'm done for a few minutes, then we'll open up for Q&A. But if you've got questions on this, I think you'll understand better when Paul goes through it. But our roads are the worst roads in the country. They are downright dangerous. And I was at the Miller Road Bridge today, right in Dearborn, outside of Ford Motor Company, and it is literally being held up by 525 temporary supports. They had a picture in the paper today of a school bus going over it. And it's one of 1,100 bridges in our state that are in bad condition that need to be replaced. Now, this is a map of where we have bad roads in Michigan. I use this map because there's kind of a tendency to think that this is an issue that's unique to one part of our state or another, and it's not. This is a statewide problem that we have. And these are some of the pictures that people have sent to show us what they've seen. That is a truck filling potholes stuck in a pothole, if you weren't sure. And that's a couch up in the upper right anyway. So the consequence, one of the unfortunate consequences of taking money from schools to shore up the general fund, which is being diverted to fill potholes, is that our outcomes for kids have suffered. And we can see that Michigan is in the bottom when we rank compared to all other states when it comes to literacy proficiency. Now, I think it's really important that I point out Michigan kids have the same potential as kids in every other part of this world. And Michigan educators are as dedicated as any educator in any other part of the world. This is a function of this, which shows that our growth in investment in the education of our kids also lags the 49 other states in this country. And they're absolutely linked. I know you guys are taking photographs. We've got all of this online. Just so, take as many photographs as you want, but if you want to get it, you're absolutely encouraged to do so. Now, there are 2 more slides that I want to show if I haven't scared the heck out of you enough. This one is about skills in Michigan. So our workforce was the best skilled workforce around at one point, right? People came here from around the world, people invested here. But right now, unfortunately, when it comes to skills that are commensurate with requirements in today's economy, we're behind. We're in the bottom 20 when it comes to adults with a post-secondary certificate or degree. Only 44% of our adults have that kind of a qualification. And so we've got good paying jobs that are going unfilled right now in Michigan because we don't have the skills. And so closing the skills gap is something that's really important, not just for the health of our economy, but of course for raising individual incomes in this state. And that's something that we lag behind as well, that I'm focused on fixing in this budget. And then the last one that I want to show you is, this is a map that shows where we have known PFAS issues. PFAS is a chemical that has been leaching into drinking water across Michigan. We've got a drinking water problem across our state, and this is only the portion that has PFAS depicted on it. If we had a map that overlaid with all of the old infrastructure, lead pipes bringing water into our homes and schools, it would be more concerning even than this one, and this one's pretty scary. So what do we do about this? We've identified the problems, and these are the fundamentals, right? We've got divided government here in Michigan, And I remain convinced that divided government doesn't have to look like Washington, D.C. if we remember that we're Michiganders first. That's why staying focused on the fundamentals, I think, is where we can find some common ground and solve problems. It starts with understanding the problem. So that's what I just showed you. Then setting a goal. Because I believe, great expectations beget great results. And we have to set real goals. By 2030, we need to make sure that 90% of our roads are in good to fair condition. That's the goal. It is also the goal to make sure that every community has clean drinking water. Now, I'm not going to wait till 2030 on this one, but I wanted to list this as a part of our goals for the near future. To close the skills gap. Up until my state of the state, Michigan was the only state in the Midwest and one of only 9 states in the country that didn't have a goal for skills. And so I set our goal. I set it at 60%. Now, 60% is aggressive when you're at 44%, but is absolutely doable, and that's what I've built into this budget as well. And then fourth, education. To take Michigan to a top 10 state when it comes to educational outcomes for our kids. These are the goals, and when we hit these goals, every one of us, whether you've got a kid in the public schools, whether you're a community that can't drink their water right now, whether it's you or your neighbor who needs an opportunity to enhance your skills, every one of us benefits when we get these fundamentals right here in Michigan. So the solution's not easy. If this was easy or simple, we wouldn't be here talking about it. Someone would have fixed this already. The fact of the matter is we have a $2.5 billion infrastructure problem that is bleeding over into our general fund and our school aid fund problems. So when we fix the roads the right way, we solve all of these issues. The proposal that I've put out there is a 45-cent gas tax. Now, I got to tell you, I've done a number of interviews, and one man said, I know you want to raise the gas tax. And I said, back up. I don't want to raise the gas tax. No one wants to raise the gas tax. But the fact of the matter is, after 40 years of disinvestment, if we don't get serious about fixing these problems, every one of us is going to pay a much dearer price than this at the pump. And that's why we've got to actually solve these problems and show that we're up to it. I understand this is going to be hard for some people in our state, though. And that's why we wrote it so that it phases in. That's why we proposed doubling the earned income tax credit for the working poor. That's why a part of this is repealing the pension tax for seniors on a limited fixed income. And that's why I think it's also important that we recognize we're all paying a road tax right now. We're paying for new rims. We're paying for new windshields. We're paying for alignments or in collisions. When we fix the roads the right way, it's a lot cheaper to do it at the pump than to keep fixing our cars with roads that get worse by the day. When we do it, we'll use the best quality materials, and we will ensure that they are built to last, and we'll each feel the relief in our pocketbooks. And the thing about the way that I propose that we fix the infrastructure problem in Michigan is that we have accountability that's built in. I know people are frustrated with Lansing. It feels like we just raised the gas tax 3 years ago and they told us this would be fixed, and they knew darn well that it wasn't going to be. We've seen them play games, the shell game that I described earlier where they move money around. When you do it at the pump and you do it in a way that actually raises what's needed, we can guarantee that every penny goes to fixing the roads and bridges. Under Article 9, Section 9 in our state constitution, money raised at the pump is dedicated to fixing the roads and cannot be moved around by future leaders. This kind of investment gets us to 90% of our roads by 2029. This is how we change the trajectory of where we're headed. It also, though, gives us the ability to put those school aid fund dollars back into our schools. So this budget represents the biggest investment in the education of kids in Michigan in 20 years. $507 million back into the education of our students. It also, when we put those general fund dollars back out of potholes and into the general fund, gives us the ability to close the skills gap through the Michigan Reconnect, which is an opportunity for adults in the workforce to upskill, to get back in or get into a better job. And the My Opportunity Initiative is for graduating seniors to go on to a debt-free community college opportunity or bringing down the cost of a 4-year degree. The general fund dollars back in the general fund and out of potholes means that we can get serious about cleaning up drinking water in Michigan too. $120 million to improve drinking water infrastructure, $60 million for hydration stations in schools, because we know that a lot of schools have lead infrastructure bringing the water in. And for people who really like accountability and truth in taxation, the dollars are actually going to be going where they're supposed to be going. So the public can have some confidence in the accountability of what we are sending to Lansing. Now, every community can go online and highlight your particular geographic area and see which roads are going to be prioritized as a result of this budget if it gets enacted. And it means an incredible improvement in the quality of life here, especially in Southeast Michigan. And you can click on your district and see what it means for the education of your kids. So here in Plymouth Canton, it is a $336 per pupil increase, the biggest in 20 years. That is how we take Michigan outcomes and improve them for our kids and improve life for our incredible educators too, by the way. So when you write a budget that balances things and ensures dollars go where they're supposed to go, and make sure that we fund the roads the right way, we can fix all of these problems. We can close the skills gap, clean up drinking water, fix the damn roads, and make sure that our kids are getting the education that they need to be successful here in Michigan. We can make Michigan a top 10 state on all of these fronts. It won't happen overnight, and it's not simple, but we can do it. And I've put a real plan on the table to get it done, and I need your help to make sure that we're successful. And with that, I just want to thank you for being here. I'm going to hand it over to Paul, and then we'll open it up for Q&A after Paul makes a few remarks. So please welcome the Fix the Damn Roads guy, Paul Ajaba. I'll run it. Okay.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor said, I'm Paul Ajaba. I'm better known as Fix the Damn Road guy now. But that's okay. I think we're making progress. For the past maybe 2 or 3 months now, the governor and I have been crisscrossing. Okay. So we've been crisscrossing the state, going around talking about her proposed budget. And I'll tell you, as people come up and introduce her, you hear the word, she's an awesome person, wonderful being used. I'll say, yeah, she's an awesome person, wonderful person. She's also a great boss. And above all, to me, I think she's a great leader, a bold leader. Because when my team and I met with the governor, and we gave her the numbers for what we think it costs to fix the damn road, the governor did not blink. She said, well, that's what we're going to take to the people. And to me, that's bold leadership, and I think she deserves a hand for that. Yes. So what you're going to see here, this slide here shows the condition of our current pavement. In 2015, if you all remember, the past administration passed a road funding package. But that funding package really did not do what it was intended to. MDOT was on record as saying we needed $1.2 billion to get our road condition back in good shape. But when the budget was passed, it was $1.2 billion, and they ran it through what we call Act 51 formula, and MDOT only got 39% of that. So, which means we're 61% in the hole. And quite frankly, only $600 million of that $1.2 billion kicked in 2 years after it was passed in 2017. The other $600 million, we're still waiting for that. That's not going to kick in till 2021. So while we're waiting, our roads are falling into a poor category. And there's a study that says the longer you wait for your road to fall into poor category, it costs you between $6 to $14 to bring it back up. So this slide here is a result of that 2015 budget. The yellow line is where our road condition was headed. I mean, the orange line, I'm sorry. That's where our road condition was headed. The black line is what happened after that 2015 package. As you can see, all it did was slow down the rate of deterioration. It did not stop the slide. The governor's proposal is that green line. As you can see, it stops the decline, flattens it out, and you see an upward trajectory. And that's really a huge difference. And that's why we think if you don't do anything in 2 years, you'll be down to 65%. If you think 78% is not acceptable, can you imagine 65%? This next slide, I kind of want to show the perception out there. Take a look at it. It sounds funny. A friend of mine sent me this as a joke. I'm been in the department 28, almost 29 years. We finally have a governor that's championing that let's stop this and fix the road once and for all. This is a perception of our state out there. And I think her proposal will get this, so we don't get jokes like this anymore. I, for one, take this personal because, again, I've been in the department that long, and I know what we in the department has been doing to try not to have this kind of image. We've worked, I'll say probably for the last 10, 15 years, we've been doing a lot of bandage projects. We have not been really fixing our roads. I don't know if any of you remember, about 2, 3 months ago, we had to shut down I-75 because of potholes. People were having busted tires out there in the middle of the night, right in the middle of winter. So we had to mobilize a lot of our crew out there to fix the potholes so we can get the freeway open for the rush hour traffic the next morning. And that's going on all over because our infrastructure is really old and we've not kept up with funding it. This slide here is indicative of what the governor mentioned earlier. This is a text exchange between me and a friend of mine. Never mind that he called me Paulie, but take a look at the dates on this text. February 12th, March 6th. That's within a month. He had 2 busted tires. The one on the right, I mean, look how bad that is. I mean, I felt so bad for him. I couldn't even say anything. I'm like, well. So about a month ago, the governor and I were in Detroit doing a town hall. I kind of mentioned there's a study that says right now the average Michigander is spending about $600 to fix their tires. And this lady was sitting in front. She said, please, I spent $1,600 to fix my tire over the winter. That's a lot of money that's not going towards fixing the roads. We're fixing our tires. It's all a hidden tax that we're paying for already. Why not spend the money to fix the roads? And I think that's where the governor's budget, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. Okay. No, that's probably it. I just want to make a couple of more points. No, that's probably it, yeah. So if you think we are spending a lot of money and it's not going towards the road, I would just want to give you one not-so-fun fact. Florida has almost identical lane miles as Michigan does, 122,000 lane miles. They have almost identical number of bridges. But Florida spends about $6.1 billion a year on their roads. You know how much we spend? We spend $1.4 billion. They spend about $1 billion on their maintaining their roads. We spend about $330 million. That's a huge difference. That's what you see out there. When I use the Ohio comparison, people will say, well, what about Ohio? Ohio spends $1 billion than we do. But they have more roads than we do. That is the counter argument. So we are not just investing enough in our roadways. So I thank you for having us here tonight.
All right, now we have a moment for some questions. Governor, why is a tax on gas the proposed solution to adding to the budget?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. So I actually have a slide for that. I've been doing a number of these town halls across our state. I don't know if this ticket. Here we go. So the size of our, I don't want you to focus on that one yet. That's, okay. So the size of our infrastructure problem is $2.5 billion. That's what happens when you stop investing over a long period of time. It's $2.5 billion. There are only a handful of taxes that we collect that you could even adjust to raise that kind of investment. People have suggested maybe there's a better way of doing it. And I'm totally open. If someone has a better way of raising $2.5 billion to fix our roads, I'm interested in having that conversation with anyone who wants to do it. Here are some of the alternatives that could have been proposed, I suppose. Let's talk about a corporate income tax. People have suggested, why don't you just raise a corporate income tax? To raise $2.5 billion, we'd have to over triple the corporate income tax. And acknowledging the legislature that I'm working with, I knew that that one was not going to be received well, and I'm not out here to tilt at windmills. I'm out here to solve a problem. But even if the legislature embraced that, we would still have to hope that a future legislature would actually put the money into roads and bridges and not play the shell game. And that was one of the pitfalls of that one, in addition to the unlikelihood of me getting the legislature to adopt tripling the corporate income tax. Another one, perhaps it was the income tax someone suggested, and I understand why that suggestion, but you'd still have to raise it over a percentage point. But in order to raise the income tax, you have to go to a vote of the people. So that's another hurdle that makes it difficult, and it raises it into the general fund. And so we still have to hope that a future legislature actually puts the money into fixing the roads. And that's the same story for the sales and use tax, going to a vote of the people and not having accountability built in to ensure that the money goes to where it's supposed to be fixed. Now, I've gotten questions about marijuana every event that I do. People say, what about pot for potholes? I don't know, maybe it just sounds good. And I think it's important to acknowledge that if that's on your mind, there's a lot of people who've asked that question. But the marijuana, even at the full taxation, what it is allocating toward infrastructure is about $42 million a year. $42 million compared to $2.5 billion problem that we have. And there's so many zeros there, it's hard to, kind of grasp it sometimes, but it really is not even a drop in the bucket toward fixing the problem. And that's why I finally asked my team, what would it take to raise enough marijuana taxes to fix the roads? Well, every man, woman, and child would have to consume $2,500 worth of marijuana a year. And I'm certainly not to do that, right?
All right, next question for both the governor and director. What is the plan to encourage Michiganders to support the gas tax, given that tax is a four-letter word in politics? And how will we know that the tax is actually being used for the roads? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's why the gas tax, when I went through all of those others, that's why the gas tax was the one place where we could ensure, because it's protected by the Constitution, that the money actually goes to where it's supposed to go. Now, we've seen at the local level people embrace opportunities to make greater investments, whether it's in their schools or in their public safety in their communities, because they know and they trust that the money actually goes to fix the problem that they're raising it for. And that's a problem that state government has a credibility issue with the public. I mean, I'm as frustrated as anyone when they told us that they'd fix the problem on roads with a gas tax that they knew darn well didn't fix the problem. And so that credibility issue is one that I'm trying to remedy through a mechanism that is protected constitutionally to make sure that every dime actually goes to fixing the roads. Now, getting the public to embrace it, I think that's what I'm doing here tonight. That's why we're getting across the state and doing town halls and answering questions and engaging with the public and encouraging the legislature to take a historic vote. It's not an easy vote that I would ask of the legislature to take, but I wouldn't ask it if I didn't think, number one, it fixed the problem, and number two, the problem was at a crisis level. And that's where we are in this state. And that's why having representatives here, Representatives Coleman and Kolazar and Pagan and Senator Polhanke, they need the support in order to take a tough vote like this. They need to hear from people in their community that this is important to you and that you want to get this done. And that's a part of how I think that we go about trying to make sure that we're successful on this. Every school child in this state will have an enormous benefit in their educational outcomes and in their educational opportunities when we make this investment.
Director, this is a question for you. Truck weight is a major issue affecting our roads. How will this budget address this concern?
Honestly, I think the issue of trucks beating up our roads is really not the case. We are an actual loading state. For us, we allow like 13,000 pounds an axle. In other states, it's like 19,000. So I always use this analogy. A concentrated load, it's more impactful than if you spread the load over an area. So for us, we allow more axle on trucks and less weight. But other states, they allow more weights and less axle. So it's a misconception that the truck weights are what's really been our roads. Our infrastructure is just old. And I will tell you, quite frankly, Michigan truck law, a lot of other states were trying to adopt our law when in 1982, Congress passed a law and stopped that. So we were grandfathered in. And also think about it, if we reduce truck weights in Michigan, that means you're going to have more trucks on the road because the suppliers have to get their products in and out to the market. So the truck weight is really not what is causing our roads. The problem is just we don't have enough resources to meet our needs.
Thank you. Governor, why didn't the money from the 2015 tax increase fix the roads?
Well, because it wasn't enough. And I just want to show you this one slide again because I think it explains better than all the words in the world. This slide. So this is where we were headed before 2015. That blue line is where we were headed. We were dropping fast. And so in 2015, they raised the gas tax. They told us they were fixing the problem, but they knew darn well that it was not enough to actually fix it. So all they did was slow our decline, and that is represented in the green line there. This is where they've mitigated the damage that we're confronting. And as you can see, they slowed it down a bit. We would be right here right now if they hadn't passed it, but it was never enough. And it was, I think, unethical that they told the public that they had fixed the problem. Because now we are dealing with a situation that is so much worse than most of us even, recognize unless you really dig into the numbers. And we've lost faith in our government being honest with us and doing what they said they were going to do. And that's precisely why I'm here. And that's precisely why I put a solution on the table that actually fixes the problem. I'm tired of politics as usual, and I'm sick of people who tell you they've done something when they haven't. We deserve better, and we need to fix these problems. The thing that keeps me up at night is the thought of that there could be a crisis in this state with a bridge that collapses. It has happened in other states. We have 1,100 bridges that need to be replaced. We have roads that are crumbling, and it is a cost to drivers, but the safety issue is the thing that I couldn't be more concerned about than I am, and that's what is compelling me to try to solve this problem. Not because I just want to, raise taxes. It's because we've got a crisis that we have to fix, and we have got to be honest about it and put solutions on the table and not pretend it doesn't exist anymore.
As we bring closure to our time today, the final question from the audience. Governor, what is your response to the working poor who can barely afford necessities? How do you expect us to be able to afford a gas tax?
I think that's the question that I've spent a lot of energy trying to make sure that we've got a good answer for. One of the reasons we built in doubling the earned income tax credit is because we recognize that this will be hard for a lot of people who are trying to get to work and are hardly making enough to survive. But here's what I know. When the fundamentals are failing, it's the people at the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum that are hurting the most. When you can't drink the water coming out of your tap, rich folks go out and buy water. But poor folks can't. When you hit a pothole and you got to buy a new tire, that's a week's pay for a lot of people. It's an inconvenience for many. And so crumbling foundation and infrastructure from the education of our kids, where rich folks go out and hire a tutor and poor folks don't have that same opportunity, the most regressive thing we can do is let the foundation of our state, the education of our kids, the roads we drive on, the water we drink, when that gets bad, that's the most regressive thing that we can do as a state, and I'm trying to fix these problems. I am aware that this will be a hardship for people, and that's why we've tried to build some relief in. But I know that continuing down the path we are is a heck of a lot harder on people at the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum than it is for others.
Thank you, Governor Whitmer. Please join me in giving the governor and her team a round of applause. We know that your time is busy and it's valuable for us that you are here listening to our voices. We thank you. We thank everybody for your attendance today. Please drive safely and have a great evening.
Thank you.